Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Anyone got stories from anywhere other than the United States? Strange to think I've read more about skinwalkers in the US than other spooks from countries or regions. Greentext stories from other countries are more appealing to me since they aren't just ghosts and skinwalkers. Visiting the Philippines. Stay at a friend's place. Says it's haunted. See figures out of the corner of my eyes during the stay. Dude's family has live-in maids, so I can't tell if it was a ghost or just them staying out of sight. Told me spooky customs like asking for permission when walking in the forest or those banyan trees. Showed me this empty plot of land in this upscale developed neighborhood. That empty plot of land had these weird, huge mounds. Told me little people, duende live there and curse or hurt anyone trying to build on it. Was going to this island in the south that had maximum spooks since he knew I was into that. Storm canceled all ferries to it. Got invited to go back with him, late 20s now. Still want to do a spooks tour, but my vices may take over at those go-go bars. I'll try and collect stories or experience them myself. Got one more story that my friend told me that I remembered, that relates to other Filipino folklore and customs that I've read up on. Friend was a child and lived in a house just outside a metropolitan area. The house next to theirs was vacant for a while. Someone recently bought it and started doing renovations. Renovations stopped for a while. Then one day, a massive procession of religious people praying along with priests in their garb as well as a big cross. The procession ended at the neighbor's house with priests going inside. Priests and religious people occupied the house, alternating praying until nightfall. Prayers for like a week, but he didn't care because the streets were alive with little vendors trying to sell to the people after the people prayed each day. Kinda like a block party. After that week, priests left, but left behind this big-ass wood cross in the living room that you can see from the street. House stayed empty for a few more weeks until owners started reluctantly living there. Some nights occupied, some nights empty. Friends asked parents what the deal was. Turns out during the renovations, construction workers found a hidden room full of dark magic knickknacks, bottled herbs, bones, witch iconography, and allegedly a fetus in a jar. Construction owners told new owners about this and contacted a local priest and arranged an exorcism. I read according to lore that some people would be witches or something, and they'd masquerade as normal people and turn into aswangs at night. And those jars contained familiars or potions to kill or manipulate. But from what my friend told me, there were no weird things happening when he lived there even before said exorcism. Then again, I didn't ask him if his family lived there all that time. Superstitions run strong in the provinces, away from metropolitan areas, that politicians still seek out witch if they need an edge.
This encounter happened in 2012 in the Philippines, which, until now, me and 3 other friends could not find any answers to. We just finished sending off a friend in an airport in the city Subic, so we started heading home at around 4 p.m. We lived about a 3-hour drive away and right about 5 p.m. when the sun started to go down, and darkness began enveloping everything. A figure caught my eye, hovering just a few meters above and sometimes beside our car. It looked like a black-skinned, full-bodied small human with bat-like wings and legs tightly fused together as if conjoined. It started to appear somewhere in Tarlac, a farming province, through small populated towns with roads lined with thick trees traversing endless rice fields. My friends saw it too, and we did not become horrified by it, but rather all questions ran through our heads and through us finding out why it was there and what it was. It just hovered and flew at the speed as our car, and every turn we made it also did. It was following us. I took out my phone to take a photo of it, but the darkness prevented me from taking any good shots as it was almost completely dark and this creature went so high and only reappeared from a good distance, good enough to be seen. I lit a flashlight onto it from time to time, but it was so good at avoiding it. Sentient. We did not want to provoke it, so we just drove on. My friend, who was driving, saw the creature occasionally on his side mirror, but just calmly drove on. Its face was black and as if all facial parts had marbled with the black leathery skin that covered every inch of its body, at least from a distance of judgment. The fright we felt turned into calm and eventually to folly. We couldn't understand why this creature was following us. It sometimes hovered as close as maybe 5 meters and sometimes suddenly disappeared in the thickness of trees. For a couple of hours it followed us until we reached the city where we lived. It just vanished just like that. There were 4 of us who saw the creature, and to this day, we couldn't find any convincing explanation to it. Yes, it stopped following us after a few hours' drive, but we know it's still out there following someone else at this very moment.
I really like playing games, especially MMORPGs. I always stay up until 3 a.m. All that changed. I heard of stories going around in the neighborhood about an old lady with black eyes wanting to come inside their houses. There were about 4 or 5 that experienced it, and because of fear, they never even answered the old lady. Then after a few weeks, it was a man with black eyes. I didn't really believe it. I was about 17 years old back then, and most of my male neighbors also didn't believe it. They even pulled a prank and put a candle on a turtle's back at night and claimed it was a gnome to scare the children. I was playing Dreamland online on Facebook, and then at 3 a.m. I suddenly heard something. I ignored it until I heard it again, and this time it was clearer. It said, "Bata asan ka tatay ka ba?" It basically asked a certain kid where he is and if he wants to shit. It kept saying it over and over. There wouldn't be any kids outside at 3 a.m. It's really dark and scary. That's when I got curious and looked outside. There was only one kid there. I haven't seen him before. He looked at me and his eyes were like marbles, big black marbles. And he said, "Tatay ka." If it wasn't so scary, I would be laughing because he basically asked if I wanted to shit. He started coming towards me at the window and keep saying, "Tatay ka?" So I ran and took a metal rod about 5'7" in length and was ready to take him out if he ever gets near me. I was actually good in using it, so I took it instead of a knife. Oddly enough, he didn't break through or pass through the window like I expected. Even though my body is shaking and my legs could barely move, he just kept looking. I decided to wake my mother up because I'm really scared, but then he walked away and I dropped on my knees. My body was still shaking. I didn't go back to sleep.
This story happened when I was in college, in Marquez, Philippines. When I was in college, I lived in a separate house from my parents, my stepdad and my mom. They bought a house for me, close to where they lived. My friends always did sleep over at my house. One night a friend of mine visited me and asked me if he could sleep at my house for the night. So I said yes, because they always do that. We chatted for a moment and then we decided to go out and buy some drinks and cigarettes. When we went out, we noticed that the night was so beautiful, with a clear sky. You could see the stars and the moon shined so bright. So we decided to walk from my house to the convenience store. Like 7-Eleven, but it's not 7-Eleven because we didn't have 7-Eleven before here when I was in college. So we were walking and chatting at the side of the road when suddenly, we heard a loud sound. The sounds of speeding motorbikes. So we looked at the road where the sound was coming and we saw 2 motorbikes racing each other. The passenger of one motorbike is a man, a little girl and a pregnant woman. And 2 adult men are riding the other motorbike. So they are racing. Then suddenly the other motorbike got too close to the other one and hit the back and they crashed. When we saw that happen, me and my friend ran towards them to help. I ran towards the motorbike where the little girl was riding because I'm concerned about her. As I get closer to where they are, all I can see is smoke. Then suddenly I saw a figure standing. This figure looks like a man. I thought that it's just one of the riders. But as I looked carefully, this figure had wings. All I can see is this figure's back not facing towards me. Then it disappeared. So I continued helping. The first one that I pulled to the side of the road is the father. He's awake, but has a big cut on his forehead and I can smell the alcohol, and he keeps on saying, "I'm sorry, I'm drunk. Help my daughter and wife." Then the second I pulled is the little girl. I carried the little girl and put her at the side of the road beside his father. When I looked at the little girl, she had a broken right leg and right arm and passed out. So I went back to get the mother and I'm shocked when I saw her. She was standing at the spot where I saw the winged figure. But she's not there when I'm helping his husband and daughter, or maybe I just don't see her because of the smoke. I ran to her and the first thing that I did was ask her if she was wounded or injured. But she's just crying. She's not responding to any of my questions. So what I did was I checked her hands and head if she had any wounds or injuries, but to my surprise I didn't see any wounds, blood, or even a scratch on the pregnant woman. Then the ambulance arrived and helped them. After that, my friend and I went to the convenience store and bought what we needed. We smoked a lot that night. Then in the morning we got invited to the police station to give our testament to what happened, and I asked the police what happened to the family. They told me that the pregnant woman is okay, but the father and daughter are still recovering. The police informed us that the other 2 motorbike riders that were involved in the accident are friends of the injured man. They came from the same party that night and that they were all drunk that time. My only question is, how come his husband and daughter are injured but the pregnant woman doesn't have any injuries?
I got a great one. Be me, Filipino anon, early 20s, fit, but can't resist a good adobo. Fly back home from abroad to join Senpai for the annual fiesta in Cebu. Towns lit, streets draped with colorful banderitas, music playing, children dancing the tinikling. On mission mode for the best lechon in town. Tia Melinda insists I wear a barong Tagalog cause you have to look pogy for the ladies anon. Well, can't argue with Tita's logic. Gotta be guapo handsome. Strolling past centuries-old St. Nino Church, the smell of incense fills the air. Hear metal clanking like it's the final round of a telenovela showdown. CuriousCat.jpg. Check out the commotion. See local martial artists practicing arnis, but also traditional fencing, Spanish-era style, real blades and all. Dad used to tell stories of our ancestors being badasses with rapiers. Lost in thought, barely noticed a soft tap on my shoulder. Turned to see a stunner, Maria. Pretty local girl, long black hair, tantalizing eyes, and wearing a Filipiniana gown. She's got a rapier, handle intricately designed, like it's been passed down generations. I bet you 50 pesos and a halo you can't best me in a duel, she challenges with a shit-eating grin on. Prepare to owe me a halo then, senorita? Before I know it, we're in a circle of spectators cheering for a duel. Maria hands me a sword. Blades aged but maintained. Touch the hilt and boom. Transported back. Spanish-era Philippines. Still me, but not really. I guess my name is Alejandro. I'm some noble's son, a revered fencer in Visayas. Fencing not just for show, but a mark of honor. See Maria, but in this life she's called Isabella, daughter of a rival Datu. Our families at odds, but our hearts? Bound together. Forbidden love intensifies. Sneak out for late-night rendezvous by the beach. Watch the balangay boats. Share sweet bibingka under the stars. And practice fencing footwork on the sand. Life's perfect until rival fencer Diego, another noble, wants Isabella's hand, backed by her father. Challenges me to a public duel. Winner gets the girl. Montage of training with old Spanish maestro, combining traditional Filipino strikes with Spanish rapier techniques. The day of the duel is here. Our town's plaza is packed. Blades clash, audience gasping with every parry and thrust. Diego's good, trained in Madrid, they say. But my moves, they're unpredictable. Blend of East meets West. Managed to disarm Diego. Crowd erupts. Victory was short-lived as his father's soldiers intervened, not pleased with the spectacle. Separated from Isabella, heartbroken. Snapped back to present, sitting on the ground, sword beside me, Maria looking worried. You blacked out for a minute there. You okay, Anon? Head spinning. Isabella. She looks confused. Then realization dawns. Alejandro. The rest of the fiesta becomes a blur. Maria and I share tales, feelings, past life memories, uncanny connections, too real to be mere coincidence. Night ends with the promise of another duel, but this time with our shared past as the backdrop. I can't help but feel destiny's hand at play here. Wake up next morning, head still buzzing from yesterday. Check phone, one new message. It's Maria. Meet me at the old balletti tree near the plaza at sunset. Bring your blade. Pulse quickens, it's on. Days dragging. Decide to do some research to kill time. Ask Lolo about town history, especially about any legends of star-crossed lovers named Alejandro and Isabella. Lolo strokes his goatee, eyes far away. Ah, the tragic tale of two souls bound by love, separated by murder. Nice. Lolo, slang for abuelo, narrates the tale as old folks often do, slow but deep. Alejandro and Isabella's story spread across nearby Visayan islands, became a symbol of love. Their spirits, unable to find each other in death, still wandered, seeking reunion. Goosebumps level over 9,000. Sundown approaches, wear my most dashing barong, put on Gramps' old straw hat, and got the rapier from yesterday. Balete tree in sight, massive and ancient, roots hanging like nature's curtains. Maria's there, looking ethereal against the setting sun, like a true Dalaga beauty. She's brought her own blade, the same one that started this journey. Without words, we assume stances. It's not a real fight, it's a dance of memories and emotions. Every strike, every parry, echoes a past encounter. The audience from yesterday gathers, sensing something interesting. As blades clash, time for me seems to warp again. We're no longer in the present, but a blend of the past and now. Sounds of fiesta music mixed with olden-day ballads, modern faces interspersed with people in traditional wear. Amidst the duel, Maria whispers, "Do you feel it, Alejandro?" Too choked up to reply, just nod, tears streaming. We're not just reliving memories, but healing old wounds. Duel ends not with a victor, but with a mutual lowering of blades and a hug. Audience erupts in applause, many teary-eyed. Somehow they felt the journey too. Lolo approaches with a tear in his eye, pats my shoulders. Fiesta's in full swing, but Maria and I sneak away. Find a quiet spot overlooking the sea, reminiscing our past. She giggles. "Guess we don't have a Diego this time, huh?" Laugh and cuddle closer. "Just a more peaceful life with you. Decide to stay back in Cebu a bit longer, dive deep into traditional fencing, preserve our heritage. Maria and I become a couple, teaching fencing for the time I'm there and sharing our tale. Planning on marrying her and bringing her to the States soon. MFW life's stranger and more romantic than a teleserie."
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.